Hello, my name's Michael Banks, and the topic of my short video blog today is being conscious, the key to changing unwanted behaviors. So I once coached a guy in the technology division of Goldman Sachs. He was a brilliant engineer from Eastern Europe. The CEO and the CTO had called me in and explained that before he would have been made CTO years ago, but he hadn't been made CTO because of his habit of blowing up in meetings regardless of who was in the room, including important clients and senior management. Nevertheless, he'd still blow up on a regular basis. They also said that they'd been giving him feedback about this for the past 20 years and nothing had changed. So they were very skeptical about whether I could do anything at all that they obviously couldn't do. And they were skeptical, but nevertheless they thought, let's hire Michael Banks, see what he can do. So I must have interviewed at least 24 people around him. This is a big one, who worked with him in different capacities. And the data gathered was verbatim, and it amounted to about 140 pages of data. So I did have to sit with him for a long time. After he'd gone through the data, I asked the client to prepare an action plan based on the findings. When I next met him, he laid out a spreadsheet with a bunch of figures, variously colored with red, yellow, green, and blue. So being the engineer that he was, he'd counted all the times various significant words had come up in the 140 pages of data. And then he put those words into different buckets according to the themes that emerged from the data. And the colors were a ranking of priorities that he wanted to deal with. Amazing. And it worked for him. Obviously, that's what he was. He was an analytical engineer. However, the real difference was this. Over the next year or so, I coached him to become acutely aware of his thoughts, feelings, and body sensations as he sat in meetings, and become conscious of these things in the run-up to exploding with anger. So what would happen in those moments before he exploded? Thoughts, feelings, body sensations. The thought was typically, this meeting's going in the wrong direction. That's what he was thinking before he blurted it out. The feeling was one of exasperation and anger, and the body sensations were tension in the stomach and flushing in the face. And in fact, what people got to know that if he started to flush in the face, uh-oh, watch out, he was going to explode. Through the discipline of observing these things in himself, the client was able to respond and not react. Reacting is when you're a victim of your thoughts and feelings, and they're so strong sometimes that you can't control yourself. You're not in charge of yourself. Responding is possible if you're conscious of your thoughts and feelings, and if necessary, you put them to one side and communicate in a manner that's appropriate to the situation. You have more choices if you're conscious, and you choose the outcome you want rather than being out of control. In this way, the client was able over time to cut out the eruptions. If things weren't going the way he thought they should, he was now able to calmly and clearly state his point of view. Because he was no longer spitting fire, people could hear and respect what he was saying. And then another thing, when I first used to go into his office, he would have his back to the room and be looking at his computer screen. When I came in, he would turn around, move to the meeting table, and with a straight face, say things like, so, what are we going to work on today? There was no warmth, no welcome, and no interest in how I was or how I'd been since the last meeting. I pointed this out to him, and over time this changed too. He became conscious of the impact he was having and chose to be friendly and warm to me when I entered his office. He would ask, how are you, Michael? How was your weekend? And he even smiled. The client was pleased to tell me that through his increased awareness, his relationships with his wife and daughter had dramatically improved too. So, to summarize, if you're a conscious leader, you'll be able to make wiser and more productive choices about how you respond to any situation. So the key is to be conscious. Then you can make the right choice. Okay, that's it from me today. Hope you find it useful. Until then, bye for now.